He was the kind of assistant people whispered about. Handsome, charming, always hovering just a little too close to my fiancé. Everyone saw it. Everyone felt the tension. But me? I never gave him the satisfaction of a reaction. At least, not until the day he finally cornered me. "Caleb," he said, his voice dripping with fake sympathy, "Tori's exceptional. She deserves more. You're from another generation. You can't give her the thrill she needs." He let the words hang in the air, like a knife waiting to drop. "Look, she still cares for you, but why not leave on your own terms? Before it gets humiliating." I didn't answer. I just stared out the window, my mind already somewhere else. On Tori, on her empire, on the empire my family could swallow whole if I decided to make one phone call. The boy across from me looked perfect on the surface. Tailored suit, sculpted hair, accessories that sparkled under the recessed lighting. But it was all illusion. Cheap stones. Fake shine. The kind of details only a man who'd never known true wealth would try to pass off as real. I, on the other hand, sat there in a plain shirt and slacks. Relaxed. Unmoved. He grew restless in the silence. "You're just a civilian," he pressed, his tone tightening. "She needs a partner who can support her strategically. Someone like me." That was when I finally lifted my gaze, one eyebrow arched. Because what he didn't realize, what he couldn't possibly comprehend, was that Victoria Vance wasn't just my fiancée. She was my equal. The heir to a dynasty. And our story went back long before he ever stepped into her shadow. We'd met as teenagers, at one of those carefully orchestrated dinners where families like ours plant seeds for the future. Later, we went to the same university, our relationship falling into place as naturally as breathing. 2 years ago, I proposed abroad, and by then, everyone in our world knew, it was already written. Leo Evans, this bright young Ivy League grad, wasn't competition. He was background noise. Still, I let him talk, his voice bouncing uselessly around the sleek office while my eyes stayed on the skyline. Century City glittered beneath us, a view made possible by a capital injection from my family, a little gift that had reshaped the Vance empire. Even this tower was standing because of me. He finally snapped. "Mr. Davenport, Ms. Vance is busy. You should leave. I'll let her know you stopped by." I checked my watch. He'd wasted 10 minutes of my day. I rose calmly, ready to walk out, when the air shifted. The door opened. And there she was, Victoria. Radiant. Commanding. Her eyes locked on me instantly, her smile blooming like sunlight. "Why didn't you tell me you were coming?" Leo froze, panic flashing across his face. He tried to cover, stammering apologies, but she ignored him completely, crossing the room to me with warmth only I knew. I offered a half-smile, teasing lightly, "Just stopped by for some coffee." Her gaze flicked to the untouched cup on the table. She could tell immediately, it was beneath her standards. Her tone sharpened as she turned on him. "Did you make this?" The color drained from his face. He fumbled excuses about coffee pods and break rooms, his voice cracking under her disapproval. She laughed coldly. Then she softened again, looking back at me. "My mistake. I haven't trained him properly. Let's go to my office." And as we walked away, I caught sight of him in the glass reflection behind us, his handsome mask stripped bare, twisted with resentment. Eyes burning like he'd just lost a war he thought he could win. She trailed a half-step behind me, slipping onto the sofa with practiced grace before taking my hand, giving it the kind of playful shake that made her seem less like a corporate queen and more like a girl teasing her high school sweetheart. "You should have called," she smiled, eyes sparkling. "I would have come down to get you." I chuckled, leaning back with deliberate ease. If I'd called ahead, I would have missed out on that instant coffee, wouldn't I? The joke hit its mark, her cheeks flushed, anger and embarrassment flickering together like twin flames. "I'm sorry," she murmured. Coffee wasn't something my family ever treated lightly. My father had estates in Panama and the Blue Mountains of Jamaica. Only the best beans, the purest harvest, ever touched our cups. Instant coffee wasn't just bad. It was unthinkable. I glanced at her. "He's been with you 6 months. How is he still so clueless?" Her head rested against my shoulder, the faint perfume of her hair brushing against me. It was the scent I'd given her years ago for her 20th birthday, chosen on a whim because I once said I liked it. She'd worn it ever since, until it had become part of her, part of us. My fingers toyed absently with a lock of her hair. "Young men like that get delusions of grandeur," she said, her tone dismissive, like she was talking about a stray cat, not her executive assistant. But his work ethic's decent. I kept him around. Promoted him. And now he thinks he's untouchable. My hand paused for just a moment before continuing its slow rhythm. I looked down at her radiant face, a smile tugging at my lips. It seems my darling fiancé is simply too gorgeous. That's why you attract so many admirers. She looked up, startled, before breaking into a dazzling smile. You're being silly. They come and go. I let them buzz around. But, have I ever really made you angry? Her words were light, teasing, but I caught the shadow underneath, a cautious note buried in her voice. I brushed a strand of hair from her face, my touch deliberate. No. You haven't. And that's good. She nuzzled against my hand, her tone shifting, soft and playful. Since you came all this way just to see me, may I invite Mr. Davenport to dinner tonight? She winked, the ice-cold CEO replaced in an instant by something far warmer, far more dangerous, an affectionate kitten. Of course I said yes. And so, as the city glittered beneath us, we dined inside Ustra, the rooftop restaurant where no stranger would ever intrude. The floor was ours alone, cleared in advance because that was the way I preferred it. She looked breathtaking across the table, her smile reflecting the neon glow of Los Angeles. We sipped red wine together, the delicate fruitiness brushing across my palate. Pleasant, but not quite right. This wine is lacking something, I said quietly, setting the glass down. Her expression softened instantly, her glass following mine. That's my fault. I should have restocked the cellar after the last case. She knew. She always knew. My standards weren't vanity. They were law. Anything less than exceptional wasn't worth touching. It's fine, I said with a small smile. Let's eat. You've been working all day. I'd hate for you to go hungry. Her cheeks flushed. You and your sweet talk. We ate in comfortable silence, an unspoken ritual in our world, until the doors to our private floor suddenly burst open. Leo, clutching a stack of files, urgency dripping off him like sweat. Ms. Vance, there's a problem with the Hong Kong merger. It needs your immediate attention. The knife in my hand paused mid-slice. Tori set her utensils down, irritation flickering across her face. Who let you in here? He froze. The reprimand was sharper than he'd expected. His eyes darted to me, then back to her, his voice trembling. Why, you said any news had to come straight to you. I was just worried you'd be anxious. Then he remembered me. His tone shifted into clumsy apology. I'm so sorry, Mr. Davenport. I didn't mean to disturb your dinner. He took a step forward. Too rushed, too careless. His elbow struck my glass. Red wine toppled, spilling across the white tablecloth, blooming onto my shirt in sharp crimson stains. Tori's face blanched. Leo's went ghost white. I'm sorry, he stammered, panic clawing at his voice. I didn't do it on purpose. I'll compensate you. Please, don't be angry. The deep red blotches spread across my chest, but I didn't scowl, didn't rage. Instead, I laughed. Low. Humorless. And then I lifted my gaze to meet his, calm, steady, unshaken. The way a predator watches prey finally realize it's cornered. Compensate me. I hadn't raised my voice. I didn't even change my expression. But the moment those words left my lips, the air shifted, dense, cold, suffocating. Tori was at my side in an instant, her hand brushing my arm. Are you okay? I shook my head slowly, still silent. She turned on Leo, fury lacing her voice. What do you think you're doing? You're getting more and more out of line. You mess up, and you can't even apologize properly. On the surface, she was scolding him. But I knew her too well. This wasn't fury, it was protection. If she truly wanted him gone, she wouldn't have raised her voice. She wouldn't have said a word. She'd have whispered to the right people, and Leo Evans would never work in this city again. Leo, though, looked seconds away from tears. Ms. Vance, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. I was just rushing to get you the files. You told me yourself, he faltered, then turned to me, desperate. Mr. Davenport, I truly am sorry. Please forgive me. I'll pay for the shirt. I glanced down at the crimson stains bleeding into silk, then let out a soft, humorless laugh. Can you afford it? Because the truth was simple, my clothes weren't bought, they were created. Silk farms are our family name. Tailors whose hands worked only for us. Shirts like this weren't sold in boutiques. They weren't sold anywhere. And none of them were worn more than twice. To put a number on it, this outfit alone was worth over 100,000. Those 4 words, "Can you afford it?" landed like a blade. I watched his face crumble. Panic. Anger. A flicker of indignation. He looked at Tori, then back at me, his pride folding in on itself. Finally, his voice broke, low and trembling. "I know you and Ms. Vance have things I can only dream of. But I've worked hard for everything I have. Whether this shirt costs 10,000 or 100,000. I'll pay you back. I'll make it right." His eyes shimmered with unshed tears. All I wanted was to help. "Please, forgive me." His performance was almost convincing. Almost. I might have laughed if Tori hadn't spoken first. "What are you doing? Still standing here, running your mouth? Get out." Leo froze, his eyes wide, disbelief cutting through the act. But when he turned to me, I caught the softness in Tori's gaze, a silent plea. "Don't be angry. He's just an idiot. I'll handle him." I looked down at my half-eaten dinner, the appetite gone from me. I'd come here in a good mood, hoping for a quiet evening with my fiancé. Instead, everything tasted bitter. Tori noticed. She always did. "If you don't like it here," she whispered gently, "we can go somewhere else." I could almost feel Leo's shock radiating from across the room, at her deference to me, at my calm dismissal of him. "No," I said flatly, rising to my feet. "I'm not in the mood anymore." A flicker of panic crossed Tori's face. Then she forced a smile, slipping seamlessly into her softer self. "Then let's just go home. I'll make you my special tiramisu. You'll love it, remember? I even learned a new trick, hazelnut liqueur. You'll love it." Her hand found mine, squeezing gently. The cold CEO the world knew was gone. Beside me now was a girl, warm, hopeful, desperate to keep me close. Leo's jaw nearly hit the floor. I said nothing. Tori's voice softened further, a coaxing whisper. "I also made that mousse cake you like. Stay at my place tonight. Be the first to try it, okay?" I looked down at her, at the genuine anxiety shimmering in her eyes, and finally sighed. My hand brushed her hair. "Okay." She smiled with visible relief, the tension in her shoulders melting. She slipped her arm through mine, her voice turning bright again, almost playful. "Good thing I keep a set of your clothes at my place. Tonight, I'll show off my skills. After this, you won't want anyone else's dessert ever again." A teasing glint sparked in my eyes. "Really? You didn't slip a love potion in, did you?" She tapped my arm, feigning indignation. "Don't be ridiculous. If I used a potion, it'd be a truth serum." I laughed, just a little, as we stepped into the elevator together. And as the doors slid shut, I turned my head, one last glance at Leo. His face pale, his pride in tatters, his envy burning like fire behind his eyes. "I'll have my assistant send you the invoice," I said coolly. "A 6-figure bill. I can't wait to see how you handle that." The elevator doors slid shut, and through the narrowing gap I caught one last glimpse of him, frozen, bewildered, his entire world tilting off its axis. He couldn't fathom how someone Tori had once seemed to treasure had turned to dust the moment I stepped into the room. As the numbers ticked down, I absently twirled a strand of Tori's hair between my fingers. He was a guppy staring at an ocean he'd never swim in. When we reached her Beverly Hills villa, everything was already in place. The housekeeper had prepared the master bath to perfection, candles glowing, wine chilled, the oversized tub steaming at just the right temperature. I stripped out of my stained clothes and tossed them straight into the trash, then sank into the warmth. The fizz of a bath bomb hummed like white noise while the aroma softened the edges of my thoughts. Later, clean and robed, I stepped into the bedroom. Tori sat waiting on the chaise lounge, a hairdryer in hand, her smile playful. "Why do you always come out with your hair dripping wet?" she teased, patting the spot beside her. I sat, closed my eyes, and let her dry my hair. Her touch was gentle, almost reverent. For a moment, everything was still. Then, her voice softened. "Are you heading back to New York tomorrow?" "Yes. This was just a stopover," I replied. "I only came because I was in a good mood. A mood that's gone now." "I'll go back with you," she said quickly, almost wistful. "It's been too long since I've seen your parents. It's a good time to visit." I caught her hand. She turned off the dryer, and our eyes met. Can you really bear to part with your little assistant? I asked, a knowing smile tugging at my lips. Her brow arched. You said it yourself. He's just an assistant. He doesn't compare to my fiancé. She lingered on the word, a deliberate dagger. He's useful, good-looking, and clever enough to keep around. But if you don't want him here, he's gone tomorrow. I knew she meant it, but I also knew she hadn't cut him loose because she wasn't ready. Otherwise, she wouldn't be asking. Let him stay if you like, I said indifferently. He's just a plaything. In our world, it's not uncommon to keep a pet around for amusement, so long as they know their place. Still, I almost laughed at the thought of Leo. He really believed he was the underdog in a love story. That effort and persistence could topple walls. But these weren't walls. These were fortress ramparts. And he was armed with nothing but a garden trowel. You're the best, baby, Tori murmured, curling into me. Her fingers traced my jawline, her voice low and honeyed. My body, my heart, they are yours. That night, passion blurred into dawn. When I woke, she was still in my arms, hair spilling across the pillow like dark silk. Her breathing was just uneven enough to betray she'd been awake. If you're awake, get up, I teased, pinching her nose until she swatted me away. Isn't this where the prince kisses the sleeping princess? She pouted. I brushed my lips against her forehead. All right, your highness. How laughter carried us into the morning. Downstairs, breakfast was waiting, perfectly laid out by the housekeeper. My assistant stood ready at the door, already briefing me. The jet is on standby at Van News. Wheels up at your command. You'll land in New York by 1, board meeting at 3, dinner with your parents at 7. He rattled off my day with precision. I took a sip of milk, unconcerned. And then, the doorbell rang. The housekeeper answered, only to freeze. A familiar voice followed, grating in its persistence. Is Ms. Vance awake? I'm here to brief her on work matters. I paused mid-bite, toast hovering in my hand. Amusement flickered in me. I'd seen countless types of men in my life, but this level of blind, stubborn audacity was rare. And I almost laughed. Because in his eyes, I wasn't the heir to the Davenport fortune. I was nothing more than a parasite, feeding off Victoria Vance's empire. A kept man. A boy toy. The thought was so absurd, it was almost poetic. My assistant's glance flickered to me, then dropped as quickly as it rose, expression unreadable, but shoulders tense. Leo stepped into the foyer. The moment his eyes found me sitting at the dining table, his face soured. What are you doing here? He spat. My assistant stiffened, half a step forward, ready to intercept. I waved him off, amused. Why shouldn't I be here? I set down my toast. If I remember correctly, this is my fiancé's house. Not unusual for an engaged couple to spend time together, is it? The meaning was clear. Crystal clear. And judging by the way his face twisted, he understood it too. Anger, jealousy, humiliation, all battling for dominance. He glanced at the housekeeper, then at my assistant, then braced himself and strode closer. I admit I was out of line yesterday, he growled, voice low, intense. But $150,000 for a shirt? Are you insane? And because you dragged Ms. Vance away, the company lost $80 million. $80 million. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my assistant staring at him like he'd just witnessed a man step off a cliff. Even the housekeeper froze, then quickly bowed her head, pretending to study the floor. I simply watched him, curious. Not angry, curious. I'd met reckless people before, but never anyone so suicidally reckless. Ambition isn't a flaw. In this world, no ambition is the true death sentence. But his ambition? It was laughable. Ambition that soared far, far above his intelligence. He didn't even know the rules of the game he was trying to play. I'm aware, I said at last, calmly. Of course I was aware. I'd orchestrated it. A quiet punishment for Tori, for letting her little pet off the leash. Leo stared at me as if I'd confessed to murder. His face drained, his voice trembling. How could you? I lifted my glass and sipped the milk. Excellent quality. Very fresh. He gritted his teeth, shifting tactics. His anger melted into pitiful desperation. Even if it was my fault yesterday, this is too much. His voice cracked, practiced, pleading. Mr. Davenport, you're so high up, You could never understand what it's like for people like me. For you, 150,000 is just a shirt. For me, that's 3 years of my salary. My assistant's jaw twitched, watching him with something between pity and awe. The sheer gall. The housekeeper had already slipped away, wisely leaving the blast zone. Leo pressed on, his voice gaining false strength. If you've got a problem with me, fine, take it out on me. But why drag the company into this? Why make Ms. Vance lose 80 million? Think of what she must. A voice cut him clean in half. Oh? Why don't you tell me what I should think? The air shifted. We all turned. At the top of the stairs, Tori stood, her silhouette glowing against the morning light. Leo's face lit up like salvation had arrived. He rushed toward her, seizing his chance. It's all my fault, he whispered hoarsely. I shouldn't have interrupted yesterday, I ruined everything. But Tori's gaze went right past him. Straight to me. She descended the stairs with perfect calm, walked directly over, and brushed a kiss against my cheek. You've barely touched your breakfast, she said softly. Is it not to your liking? Leo froze. I could make you an omelette, she added, glancing toward the kitchen. No need, I replied with a faint smile. I don't have much time. She tilted her head, lips curling into a playful pout. So soon? I thought you said you'd stay. I even made that tiramisu for you last night. It's perfect today. I was going to pack some for your mother. You know she loves the strawberry one. And this batch, her eyes sparkled. It's all strawberry. Plus hazelnut. For you. She slid into the chair beside me, lacing her fingers through mine, refusing to let go. Leo's expression collapsed into something black and stormy. I chuckled lightly, twirling a strand of her hair. You really do have a lot to deal with. I must be holding you up. Her smile vanished. She gripped my hand tight, shaking her head. Don't be silly. Whenever you're here, everything else stops. You're the most important person to me. Leo's jaw clenched, rage barely contained. I raised my glass again, murmuring almost idly. Is that so? But I did just cost your company 80 million. Tori didn't even blink. She smiled, tracing circles in my palm. 80 million is nothing. If it makes you happy, 800 million wouldn't matter. Her smile was radiant, unshakable. And in that moment, I almost believed her light could melt the world. Leo stood there, stunned, as if reality itself had betrayed him. Ms. Vance, but, he stammered. Leo. Her voice sliced like ice. And just like that, he fell silent. She turned toward him, and in a heartbeat the sweet, affectionate woman by my side vanished. What replaced her was something else entirely, the queen of the boardroom, sharp and merciless. Her voice cut like glass. Perhaps I've indulged you too much. Maybe that's why you've forgotten your place. Leo froze, as if the ground beneath him had given way. You're just an assistant, she went on, every syllable dripping with disdain. I kept you around because you were easy on the eyes, reasonably competent. But did you really think you could replace him? Did you actually believe I'd throw away my fiancé, a considerate, powerful man worth billions, for some arrogant, empty-headed boy fresh out of college? Her tone was mocking, but her words landed like fatal blows. Leo's face drained of color, his breath caught between rage and despair. It was amusing, sure, like training a pet. But you mistook a leash for freedom. You were never more than a diversion. And diversions are replaceable. He stood there, hollow, until her final command sealed his fate. Go to HR, collect 2 months' pay, and leave. Don't forget your invoice. My assistant stepped forward, firm and wordless, ushering him away. The house felt suddenly lighter. I hadn't said a word. I didn't need to. Tori had handled everything with icy precision. Yesterday, I might have let her keep her pet. But this morning? That creature's audacity had spoiled the mood. Pets are fine, so long as they stay in line. Once they stop being amusing, they stop being necessary. When the door finally shut behind him, she turned back to me, her expression softening as if nothing had happened. With effortless grace, she slipped onto my lap, her fingers tracing the line of my jaw. After breakfast, we'll head back to New York, she murmured, eyes sparkling with playfulness. I only hummed in response, but then she wrapped her arms around my neck, her voice dropping into something tender. Keeping pets isn't fun. I'm never doing it again. A chuckle escaped me. Already tired of the game? She nodded, almost shyly. All I need is you. I just cost you 80 million yesterday. You're not mad. I teased. Should I be? Her nose wrinkled adorably. 80 million is nothing. My darling can just make me 800 million to make up for it. Then, with that sly glimmer in her eyes, she added, besides, you're not going anywhere. If my family ever collapses, I'll just move into your home, eat your food, drink your wine, and sleep in your bed. That laugh, genuine, unguarded, slipped out before I could stop it. I pulled her closer, my hand stroking her back, my gaze drifting to the window where the morning light painted the clouds. In our world, people come and go. Pets especially. But at the very top, the thrones rarely change. Alliances are built on dynasties, not feelings. And yet, sitting here with her, I realized I was one of the fortunate few. I had a fiancé who was not only stunning and clever, but who understood the rules, and chose to love me anyway. And as I held her in that quiet moment, I knew this. No petty drama, no reckless ambition, no discarded pet would ever threaten what we had.